Hello, Technology Lab 1 students. It's Mr. Walter, and this is a how-to about day 4 of your invention assignment. How-to day 4 for the invention assignment. And you have an invention assignment that I gave you. Try to solve some problem or some issue, some bothersome thing that you have at your home. And on the very first day, you thought of the different things, these different things that could cause you problems, right? Things that you wanted to solve. So you started out on day number 1 of thinking a variety of things, and you also thought about, if you solve that problem, what would life be like? What would it fix, okay, if you solve that problem? And then the second day, we brainstormed. We came up with ideas. We made sketches of the different ideas that we came up with. We tried to put some dimensions on those for the different sizes, and we tried to label our ideas. On the third day, yesterday, or day 3, you interviewed somebody in your house or a friend, another family member. You asked them questions. You told them about your ideas, and they told you what they thought about those ideas, because you want to pick the very best idea that you're going to try to pursue. And that's what we're doing today. This is day 4, and so for today, you're going to be developing that one idea that you've picked, your best idea. You're going to develop it more, and we're going to be making a more technical drawing of it. Okay? So I'm going to switch over here to my website, your classroom, your Google Classroom. So here we are in Tech Lab 1 for Energy and Communications, and this assignment for this class is inside of Product Design. Okay, and so here's the PDF file. Now there's going to be a how-to video that goes there, so you'll see some other resources. I'm also going to put some YouTube videos there. So inside of the assignment, Invention at Home Day 4 assignment, you're going to see some other links. Okay, you're going to see my how-to, this video that I'm making now, and I'm also going to put in a YouTube video about making technical drawings. Okay, but here's what we're doing for today. It says, and I'll zoom in here, choose your best choice for your invention and create a 2-view detailed drawing of what it will look like. You will need to draw a front view and a top view. The front view is looking at the invention from the front, and the top view is looking at it from the top. Pretend someone else will have to build your invention and make your drawings so that they could try to build it using your drawing. You should make your drawings large. Use 1 sheet of paper for the front view and 1 sheet of paper for the top view if needed. Both drawings should have labels of the parts, dimensions, which are the sizes, and the color for the different parts. Make sure to write the name for your inventions in large letters as the title. Think of how much money it could be sold for in a store and write the price on there also. Okay, so we've got several things that we're going to do in this space. Now, there isn't a lot of space if you just use 1 sheet of paper, so that's why I suggest you use 2 sheets of paper. If you've got class in person, you can get an additional sheet from me, but if you're working from home, hopefully you have a blank sheet of paper that you can use. That's better than working on lined paper. Okay, so if you want to print this, if you've got a printer, you could print 2 copies of this, and then you would have some space to work with. Okay, so we're going to switch over here to the overhead camera, and I'm going to turn the light on. I think that might make things a little bit easier to see. So here we are working with that sheet of paper, and I'm going to give a demonstration about making this technical drawing. Okay, so I'm going to use a pencil, and then I'm also going to use a marker so that I can darken it in. But you can just use a number 2 pencil. Something like that's going to work. Now, if you remember, my invention that I had decided upon, and I'm using for an example, is my invention of the remote control holder. And so I'm going to, I think, to make things a little bit easier for you to understand, I'm going to make both of my drawings for this. Remember, we're going to make 2 drawings. I'm going to make them both on the same sheet of paper. So I'm going to draw a line across my paper. Now, I realize that you may not be able to see this. So I'm going to, every time I draw something, I'm going to come in and darken it in with a marker. You don't have to do this, but it makes it easier for you to see. So down here is going to be where I draw the front view of it, and up here is where I draw the top view. So I'm even going to label that. I'm going to put it down here in the lower left hand corner. I'm going to label in nice neat letters, front view. Okay, and here I'm going to put in the top view. That tells me which view I'm looking at. Okay, so hopefully you can see that, but I'll go over the top of it just in case. So this is my front view, and this is top view. I may just switch to my marker for everything. Problem with my marker is if I make a mistake, it's a permanent marker. So I'll hold off on that for a while. So I've got 2 views of this. The front view for my remote control holder is like that view I drew before that shows the couch, right, and the remote control holder. But for this, I'm not going to draw the couch. I'm just going to draw the remote control holder, so I can make that drawing a little bit larger and focus in on what it's going to look like. Okay? Now, if I were to look at this from the front, it's got a base on it that goes across like this, and it's a rectangular base, but I'm drawing it from the front. So that's really all I'm going to see, is just a little bit of a base, right, that is just a rectangle. And when we sketch, what we want to do is we want to make everything into simple shapes. Okay? Simple shapes like rectangles and circles and squares and triangles. And then the remote control holder has a pole that goes from the back of it up into the air. Okay? So I'm going to draw that portion of it, and that is also a very simple rectangle, but this is kind of like a light post. It would be round, but it's a little bit thinner than the base. Okay? And then at the top, I have a sort of an arched piece. I don't want it to be straight. I want it to look a little cooler than that. So I'm going to draw an arc here that comes over, and it also sort of like a lamp shade. So it comes over like that. So remember, what you're thinking about is making a drawing for your invention, but this is a larger drawing. You're really thinking about it, and you're only showing the invention for this. Okay? Now for this, there's going to be a bungee cord that comes down, so I'm going to draw that sort of with a squiggle line, and it needs to come down low enough, and the remote control is going to be attached to it. But for my invention, I'm just going to show sort of a little circle that has got an elastic band on it for the remote control. I'm not going to actually show the remote control because the remote control isn't a part of my invention. So that's the bungee, and that's the loop that it goes inside of. Okay? So that's my remote control holder. I made the drawing of it. Now the next thing I need to do is get some dimensions on here. Dimensions show me the size. And remember I talked about before that I thought that it was going to be about 3 feet wide. So I'm going to make some arrows on there with a dimension. That's 3 feet for the width, and I think it's going to be about 5 feet tall. Now when I'm making these dimensions, I'm making what is called extension lines. So that's 5 feet. That tells me the width, and that tells me the height of it. Right? So it doesn't have to be anything too elaborate, just a width and a height. Okay? Now, if you want to show some more dimensions, like for example how long this is going to be, you could do that. We could add a dimension to that. I don't want to make it too complicated though, because people could figure out, you know, about how far that is. Okay? Now, the next thing I want to do is put in some labels for the parts. Okay, so that we know what each part is. And so a label is going to have a line like this and an arrow, and then we'll put in the name for the part. This is the base, and this part is the stand. Now I have to kind of figure out where I'm going to put in the label for the stand. I could bring it across the top of this dimension, but that's not a really good idea. So I'm going to bring it in a little bit closer. So I'm going to put that label like this, and make the arrow go at an angle like that. We always want to have the label arrows at an angle like this. You see how I made that at an angle? And you see how I made that arrowhead at an angle? Okay, so this part here is going to be the loop to hold the remote. I'll just call that a loop, and this part is the bungee. Alright, so I have some basic labels for the front view of the stand. Alright, now, so I did 3 things here. I got my front view labeled, I made my drawing, I've got the dimensions, and I have all of my labels. Alright, now in the top view I need to pretend that I was looking straight down at what that would look like. Now this is usually the hardest view for people to make, but it forces you to think about what your ideal will look like from a different perspective. Okay, it's from a different view. So we're going to pretend that we're looking straight down on it. Now to do this, I need to get it to be the same in the correct size. So I'm going to approximate how far it is. I know that from looking at it from the top, I'm going to make it a bit of an oval. So I've got a shape like that, and this distance is going to be an oval or an arc as well. The stand is going to be in the middle, so I'll draw that like a circle, and this portion, the arced portion of it, comes out this far. And the bungee, you can't really see very well. The bungee is below that, so that's going below. I could sort of show that as a squiggled line, but it goes directly below that, so it's kind of hard to see. Okay, so kind of weird, but looking straight down from the top, that's what the remote control holder will look like. And I can add my dimensions again. Remember that from here to here it's going to be 3 feet. I already decided that. Okay, and I need to think about the width of it, so put in my extension lines, and if that's 3 feet, this is going to be just about 1 foot. So that dimension's a little bit smaller to make. That's the top view of it. And then I need to get in my labels. This is the base. And this part is the stand. Okay. Now, one of the other things we want to fit onto the drawing is just a brief description of what this is going to be. And I haven't really thought of a great creative name for this yet. It's a remote control holder or a TV remote tender. So maybe I'm going to call it the remote tender. Hey, look at that. The remote and tender all fit together. Remote tender. Perfect. And this is a device to keep track of TV remote. Now, I'm working with my thick lined marker, so hopefully you'll have more space. Now remember what I told you, this works a lot better if you're to use an additional sheet of paper. So if you did one view on one sheet, you could have a whole nother blank sheet for the other drawing. I did it this way just to help you see the relationship between the front view and the top view. That's what I wanted you to see. Okay? We also want to think about how much money it could be sold for. How much money do you think I could get for this stand that holds my remote? If you got it in the mail and you had to put it together and everything worked, I bet you could sell it for 35 bucks. Okay? So we need to put a note on here someplace. Sells for $35. I'm not exactly sure where to put it. You know, maybe you want to put it just right off to the side here. 35 bucks. It's almost like an advertisement. Okay, but it's a good idea to think about how much that would cost. The cost, of course, is an important factor when you're making an invention. Okay, so this is an example. I wanted to show you that. Your job is to come up with drawings for your invention. Don't forget about having the dimensions and the labels. Oh, and I forgot one last thing. Just a second. This might be the best part. When you're finished drawing is to come in and give it some color. Think about what color you would like to have it. I picked a sort of a maroon red. I guess there's the color is probably named on here. Oh, it says it is red violet. So I'm using a red violet to shade this in. I'm going to have the base be pretty dramatic. That's a pretty dramatic color. I probably, though, you know, when I advertise it, I would tell people they could get it for in different colors. And then the stand itself is going to be a different shade. This color is blue, just a regular old blue. So I'm coloring that in, and I'll color in the stand to give it a little color, right? It makes it look a little bit more appealing. Okay, all right. So that's your how-to for day 4 for your at-home invention assignment. Good luck.